Well, appreciate that, Ron, and appreciate everybody's attendance today, and look forward to helping you understand what Huntress does and what we bring to market. So, my name is Jerry McGuire. I'm one of our senior account executives here at Huntress. Been here for a little bit over a year. You'll see our tagline up there being cybersecurity for the 99%. And I'll touch on why we're kind of going with that motto as I go through the presentation. But just a little bit of background. Most of you probably are not familiar with Huntress. We've been around for 6 years now. The first 5 years was primarily focused working with MSP partners. The last year, really trying to grow and expand ourselves into VAR into the channel. Nonetheless, we were founded by three folks that were all former offensive cybersecurity attackers for the NSA, and they when they worked for the U.S. military, they were going after other nation states and doing all the hard work of breaking into their environment. And once they were inside, they were able to, because they had persistence mechanisms, stay in an environment for a very long time, hide in plain sight, do all of the necessary work that they needed to. And what they realized was, hey, listen, if we can do this against other nation states who almost all have unlimited budgets to protect themselves, how do small and mid-sized businesses do anything around this area? And so that's where our tagline is cybersecurity for the 99%, because most organizations cannot afford to have a team of former offensive cybersecurity attackers as part of their organization. And so a little bit more about us is that as we continue to grow, I was employee number 41, I believe. We're up to over 130 employees, most of that being put into our research development and our threat ops. But really, one of our company's objectives is we just recently hit the 1 million mark in agents deployed. And really, we want to get to 2 million agents deployed by the end of 2022. So thanks to the help of Angelbeat and other events and other organizations helping us getting our name out there, and people understanding what we're bringing to market, because we do have a unique solution that we're bringing. We don't pretend to be a silver bullet, right? We're part of a layered stack approach. But really what's exciting about us as a team here is that we bring true 24/7 threat hunting to the equation. And what I mean by that is that we're actually utilizing people for that. You'll see some organizations talk about 24/7, and when you really dig further into it, they're meaning their software is 24/7. Well, that's easy. But what we're doing is really using people to satisfy that. And as I was referencing is that we're bringing in top talent from multiple organizations, not only the U.S. military, but vendors all of you are aware of, to really beef up that cybersecurity team in regards to our threat ops team and being as proactive as we can to really help your organization stay as safe as possible. The great news is that as a company, we want to live that culture of work-life balance. And so what we're doing is we're actually hiring threat ops folks around the globe. So we're taking that follow the sun type of approach. Yes, we could have hired people here in North America and had them work that third shift type of job. But again, we wanted to have where everybody has that responsibility of being work-life balance. Unfortunately, attackers never sleep. We like to here a little bit here in the U.S., just like all countries do. And, we realized, hey, listen, for us to really be as viable as we need to be, we need to hire folks from around the globe that are really being the best proactive threat hunters that we can find out there for our customers. So as I've been here for the past year, right, and I talk to all kinds of different companies, very small, very large enterprise organizations, no matter what, typically their business challenges are the same, right? When you're talking to the IT team and the staff there. And that usually comes down to is that they don't have the time, they don't have limited budget, limited resources, and they're looking for tools that are very easy to manage. There's a lot of security solutions that are out there that are really good, but they either create alert fatigue or it takes a lot of manual work from the team there, and they just don't have that time. So they're looking for something that's going to satisfy this. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to have this slide later on in the prezo, right at the end, just to summarize it. But hopefully as I get through this, I'm helping you identify how we're really helping in each of these respective areas. So 3 things I'm going to want everyone to take away about Huntress and how we can help is, number 1, we hunt for persistent threats that get past preventative tools. Preventative tools that are out there are darn good. They do a lot of great things, but I think we would all agree, right, they're not fail-proof. And you need those extra set of eyes if anything gets past those preventive solutions that are out there. Persistent threats is bolded there because we're really going to define what persistence is, why it matters to you, and maybe even more importantly, why it matters to the attacker so much. Number two, we can complement anything else within your existing stack. So whatever AV, next-gen AV, firewalls that you may be running, we can sit side by side with any of those. For some of you that have maybe a more sophisticated stack where you're running like an EDR, SIEM/SOC, those types of solutions, again, we can still sit side by side with those and still do a little bit a different piece of your cybersecurity practice. And then number three, we're simple and affordable. So as I walk through our solution and what we bring to the table, we really want to take the heavy lift off of you and the team and really be as simplistic as possible, and then provide a solution that's affordable, really at the cost of a software solution, but really bringing those people, those human threat hunters to the equation. So I know this is an eye chart. I don't expect you to be able to read all of this, but it usually gets some giggles from folks. You have a very big challenge ahead of you, right? It's understanding how do I evaluate all of these vendors? What do these vendors do well? But maybe even more importantly is that what they don't do well, right? And where do we still have gaps in our cybersecurity practice? So what we try to do is really help organizations by educating them on how they build an effective cybersecurity practice. Going back to what I said earlier, we don't pretend to be the silver bullet. We're not saying, hey, you can get rid of all of these other solutions and Huntress is going to solve all the problems. We don't pretend to do that. What we help people understand is that, again, using the NIST cybersecurity framework, how they should build their cybersecurity practice. And it's great that NIST has done this because it helps people with an independent view of how to put their pieces together. The problem with this, though, is that with all of these bullet points that we're showing here, this is really freaking expensive. Most small, mid-sized businesses, even some enterprise, they just can't afford, or they don't have the time or the budget or resources to be able to manage all of these solutions effectively. So what we see a lot is a lot of the organizations look like this. They are doing a very good job in that protect/prevention phase. They're doing really good with their backup and restore tools. But again, as you see here, there's a clear gap in that detect and respond. Some organizations, like I said, may have an EDR in detect and respond. Great. We can still layer approach to that. An EDR is still utilizing software. We're taking people. People can look at context, and I'll bring that up shortly, why that's so important. But nonetheless, is that a lot of companies have a gap in detect and respond because that's where true security expertise is required. And a lot of the teams that we speak with, they've been in IT for a long time, but they're not necessarily that security expert, right? They might have been an infrastructure guy or girl, and they've had to take on those responsibilities of security over the years. And they've learned a lot in that space, but again, that's not their expertise. So what a lot of these companies are doing is they're trying to look for companies like us that are going to take that responsibility off of their plate and really take that weight on themselves, meaning the vendor themselves, and really interpreting what that data is and if it's trying to do something good or bad. So we are classified as an MDR solution. We are a managed detection and response. Anyone on this call today, if you don't have anything in detect and respond, again, we're a perfect solution for it. If you do have something, like I said, an EDR solution, great. We can still sit side by side and we play in a little bit of different space here, which I'll show you in a couple slides upcoming. This slide right here is really to help people understand if there's ever a compromise, meaning something has gotten past your prevention tools, there's less of a reliance on technology and more of a reliance on people. And again, people can look at context. Microsoft is a great solution, but unfortunately when Microsoft was built, there's a lot of vulnerabilities. And these attackers are becoming more and more sophisticated. They're learning more and more how to get around prevention tools. And the more that they do that, these software tools can only get you so far. You then need the people to look at context and again determine, is this something good? Is this something bad? And what we're doing is taking that lift off of your team and really doing that on your behalf. So I said at the beginning, I would define persistence, help you understand what it is and why it matters so much to you and the attacker. So let's do that. So when you look at persistence, the definition according to MITRE is where the adversary is trying to maintain a foothold. And they're trying to do that even after a restart, change credentials, any other interruptions. And there's some of you may be familiar with persistence, so I'm sorry if this is too elementary, but some folks might not be. There's persistence sitting in all environments today. Persistence may be good, it may be bad. But an easy way for people to understand it is that look at your calendar and your clock. Okay, when that is built, when your system is built, it has a persistence mechanism that allows your calendar and clock to stay in your environment every single time you change your password, restart, whatever. Great, that's what you want it to do, right? You don't want to have to download something for your calendar and clock to work every single time. Other software you have installed on your system, it has a persistence mechanism that when the software needs an update, it's allowed to do its update and do what it's supposed to do. Again, all great activities and great things that you want it to do. Unfortunately, just like everything else, when there's something good, people then try to take and learn something bad out of it. So what attackers are doing is they're actually learning and replacing or hijacking legitimate code to create malicious activity. And so just like any industry, which I think everyone would agree, this is a full-time industry that we're combating right now. I saw a statistic the other day that said by the end of this calendar year, cybersecurity crime will equal over $6 trillion. Let's put that in context. In 2020, combined, Amazon and Walmart did over $1 trillion. Okay, so we are fighting an industry 6 times larger than those two mega corporations. And as I said, just like with any organization, they have processes, they have a journey to follow. And so what they do is they go out there and they do their homework. They get email, social media information. They then want to break in, right, through phishing, OpenRDP, other unpatched vulnerabilities. But as soon as they do that, they've broken in, the first thing that the attackers want to do is they want to gain a persistence mechanism that allows them to stay in their environment, have that backdoor to come and go as they please, and really kind of think of it as a skeleton key, right? They can come and go whenever they want. And what they're typically wanting to do is they want to stay in your environment for usually over 100 plus days before they drop their ransomware. And you're probably putting 2 and 2 together why 100 days is their standard. Most backup and restore tools are set for 60 or 90. So if I drop my ransomware at day 125 and an organization says, hey, we're not going to pay it, we're just going to back up and restore. Yes, it's terrible, we're going to lose all of that data, but that's the only way we can do it. The problem is, if that attacker's been in there longer than what those backup and restore tools are set for, all you're doing is just reinfecting the systems again. Also, when you see organizations that have been breached, it's something like over 50% are breached a second time within a year. And the reason why is they didn't get all of the persistence mechanisms out of their environment that allows that attacker to still have access in there. So it's really scary stuff. It's stuff that we see in the news every single day. And what we do is when you look at MITRE's enterprise matrix, and here's where we feel our solution brings a lot of value to organizations is because when you look at this MITRE enterprise matrix, it really goes from left to right. You have the initial access, as we talked about. They then want to execute, and then they want to gain their persistence mechanism. If you actually stop persistence, what you do is you break the attacker's chain. And what I mean by that is all of these other techniques to the right, they cannot be executed on unless they had a persistence mechanism. So it's really critical to, again, identify the attacker, detect them as soon as possible, respond to them. So unfortunately, they then have to, not unfortunately, but they actually move on to the next organization that's low-hanging fruit. When you look at your prevention tools that are out there, those solutions really are identifying or helping with the first 2 pieces to the left of persistence. We believe, again, with our solution, we stop the attacker as soon as possible. They have to move on. So I said earlier that the attacker's hiding in plain sight. So how are they doing that? What they're doing is they're actually hiding their persistence in the Microsoft auto runs. So what you see here is a fairly immature system. This one has 872 auto runs. So if a hijacker replaced one of these or created a new one and it went to 873, would most of you recognize it? And the answer is probably not, right? Either 1, you don't have somebody looking at auto runs, or 2, maybe you do, but you don't have your own indicators of compromise, IOCs. So They have to research every single time something new is updated or changed. That's really time consuming. So this is where Huntress takes that responsibility off your team. What we're doing is we are laser focused on hunting for persistence that's hiding itself in the Microsoft operating system. So you may be thinking, okay, Jerry, I get where you fit within the NIST framework. I understand persistence. Where I'm still struggling a little bit is understanding why, my solutions such as AV, next-gen AV, EDRs, why don't they find what Huntress is hunting for? Again, we're not saying those solutions are bad. You definitely should have them as part of your cybersecurity stack. They're just playing in a different area, right? Those solutions that are utilizing software are playing up in this 80% space, right? The files, processes, services, disk, everything else. We are laser focused on hunting for those advanced threats that are hiding themselves in the Microsoft operating system. And the reason these solutions can't play in this space is the quickest ways for them to get fired is, right, to give someone the blue screen of death. They have to make split-second decisions based on known goods, known bads. The problem is when it's something they're not sure what it is, they have to err on the side of caution by letting it through. So they can't play in that same space that Huntress is playing in. So I'll go over this slide quickly. It's more from an operational perspective because anytime you're looking at maybe another software solution, two things usually come front to mind: deployment, and is there going to be any kind of employee complaining, slowing down their environment, so forth and so on. So our agent's 11 megs. Deployment's probably going to take you 20 to 30 minutes. We have multiple deployment methodologies. You run our initial scan, takes about 2 to 3% CPUs. Our agent then wakes up in 15-minute intervals to do future scans, and those future scans take about 1% CPU. So no tray icons, employees aren't going to be complaining about any kind of slowdown. From there, how our solution works is software is part of it. Again, our main attraction is our people. What our software does is it looks through all those auto runs. If it has seen that auto run before and based on our own internal research, we know it's good, it's a green check mark. All other auto runs get kicked over to our threat ops team to investigate, and if it's doing something bad, we provide an incident report to your ticketing system or whatever email you would want set up. That ticketing system will that incident report will look like this. We will show you exactly what we detected. In this example, we found TrickBot. Very nasty. We listed it as a critical ransomware issue. Malware, sorry. We show you exactly which system is impacted within your environment. We show any security products that are installed on that system. And we show you the footholds that are allowing that malware to sit inside your environment. Well, that's great, Jerry. We have a problem, but how do we fix it? What we list for you is those remediation instructions. But it goes back to what I said earlier. Most people want something even more simplistic. We added an easy button. It says review remediation plan. All of those actions then are listed out. If you approve them, you click approve. Our agent does the work on your behalf. So we're not alert fatigue. We're not notifying you every time we're investigating something. We're only telling you, you only hear from us when we find an incident. And when we do find an incident, it's a 2-click remediation process to get it out of the environment. So for each of you, this is something that every organization has to ask themselves, right? Is that if something were to get past my preventative tools, can our team find and stop that attacker? And if not, or you're looking for a solution that can do that, again, Huntress is a perfect fit. I talked about the persistent footholds. It's not the only parts of our solution. We also provide a few things such as ransomware canaries. These are typically more for not as sophisticated attackers. Kind of think of it as a drive-by attack. Attackers broken in, dropped ransomware, trying to make a quick buck. What's good about our ransomware canaries is the files are lightweight, they're hidden, they're unique to each user's profile. We don't use canaries in the name, believe it, some vendors still do today. But what's really exciting here, about a month or two ago, we rolled out host isolation. So if a canary is tripped and it is what we consider a critical issue, we will go ahead and isolate that host to stop the spread as soon as possible. We also do external recon, where we look at your external available ports. We pop them against the site called Shodan. It's really more of just a notification tool, helping people understand if there's ports that shouldn't be open that are, such as like 443, 3389, a couple of the other ones that are out there. And then the last part of our solution I want to talk about was the Managed AV. This is really exciting. because what we're doing here is we're actually adding a plugin that allows for the management piece of Windows Defender. So this is what's called A/B tests. It's a free third-party site. They look at different next-gen AV solutions, and they give them a grade of 1 to 6 in different categories. If you look at Defender, it actually has 6s across the board. It's a darn good next-gen AV solution. It's just the thing that really wasn't great about it was the management piece. That's what the Huntress Dashboard is actually allowing you to solve for. You can set exclusions, scans, signatures. So really exciting there. If either one, you don't love your next-gen AV, or maybe budget's tight, you can displace your next-gen AV, utilize Windows Defender, and allow the Huntress Dashboard to be the management tool. Our pricing, as you see here, we are tiered pricing. This is the MSRP that I have listed. So let's just use an example of a 250-seat organization. Your cost would be $3.76 per agent per month. And this we can all get for you with all the price charts and everything else. So I said at the very beginning, I would address this again. I hope that you realize that we are something that saves your team time, right? We're taking the heavy lift. You do not need resources at all to manage the Huntress Dashboard. We're not creating that alert fatigue. We're only notifying you when the house is broken into. And when we do, again, 2-click remediation process to get it out. From a budget perspective, I think we're very competitive from the solutions that we've seen out there doing something similar to what we do. And again, the management piece, our dashboard is very easy to work with on a day in, day out basis. If you guys want to kick the tires on us, we do a free 21-day trial. Check us out, unlimited devices that can be deployed. So, my contact information is right here. Feel free to screenshot it. At least you got to say you got to meet a famous person today with the name of Jerry Maguire. But again, thank you for the time. Ron, I appreciate you letting us come on again today, and wish all of you to have a great holiday and Happy New Year's.